All right, going on to the number 3 pick, because we went 1, 2, 3 in this class. That is Drake Maye, Patriots quarterback. Now the entire staff has been fired, so he's got a whole new coaching staff with him. Same with like Caleb Williams that we just talked about before. But I'll save my Drake Maye thoughts for the end of this discussion. Charles, I'll start with you actually. Drake Maye. How are we feeling about what his situation is this year for the Patriots? What we saw from him last year? Where do we stand with Mr. Maye?
I'm excited. I'm excited because last year was awesome. Because I thought last year, I don't know. I understand Jaden Daniels won Rookie of the Year, but sometimes I felt more impressed with what I was seeing from Drake Maye, only because it just felt like the structure of the team was not there. Obviously, there was something at all. Like no offensive line. The weapons that they had didn't really work out. I guess Gerard Mayo was a little mean to what's his name, Jalen Polk, and that made him forget how to catch the ball. So maybe that'll. Dude, I can't get enough of that storyline. Give me a break. Oh, my coach is so mean to me. I forgot
the Patriots receivers, man.
They were awful.
Oh my God, what a mess.
Awful. Yeah, it was just a terrible mess, and we'll see what happens with Stephon Diggs. I don't know how much you can bank on that, but at least they just threw enough bodies at this where it's just like someone's got to come out of this group. We got to have at least one guy that emerges as like a real pass catcher, whether it's Kyle Williams or Polk comes back and has a better year. I hope it's not Matt Collins. I think we've all seen enough of the Matt Collins experience over the past few years. But I think what Drake showed last year in terms of just being able to generate offense by himself, and I think he does that well, even standing in the pocket with the way that he's able to throw guys open, just fearless under pressure, the accuracy while guys are coming after him. I thought it was just so impressive that with what they had around him, I think he finished 12th or 13th in like EPA per dropback last year among all quarterbacks, which is kind of crazy because I think when you look at most quarterbacks and guys who kind of need a supporting cast around them, they probably would have drowned in that situation last year. So the fact that he could even just stay up and just be his own generator of plays when things are falling apart, it gives you such a high floor for what this offense can be. And now they at least have one quality starter on the offensive line and Will Campbell, hopefully, and Morgan Moses is an upgrade over what they had last year. Still a little concerned about the interior. Garrett Bradbury starting at center for now isn't all that exciting. Doug Marrone, offensive line coach, is a little shaky too. But Drake can do it. I think this is going to be a big year for him just because he himself is like this own lightning rod of production. No matter who's around him. So I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself because I do doubt like some of the coaching pieces around this and the offensive line is still there. But I just thought he was so good last year, especially down the stretch, that I still found myself being all the way in here.
Yeah. Flashes are very bright. And again, I'll talk about it in a sec. Matt, before I get to my gush session, Drake Maye, because did you chart Jalen Polk?
I did.
Because it took you 15 seconds. Before you're
well, he played so much for like 5 or 6 games, and then finishing the sample, so it was real quick, which is actually really interesting on the Polk thing because I wrote this in his reception perception profile that he was he's the perfect type of player that I think was set up to fail coming to the year because like they had him run the 9 route was his most commonly run route, and he basically took all of his snaps from X receiver, which there was quite literally nothing on his on his college film, his RP profile as a prospect that indicated like he should be doing that. But then, as Charles pointed out, he also did nothing to earn himself like any goodwill or role catering. So it's one of those like, well, okay, yeah, I'd love to see him in a different position, but what do you want him to do? He doesn't even
remember we joked about this where like the calling cards of him are like he catches everything and he's a good blocker and he's smart, and it's like he's dropping everything and he's going to the wrong guy, blocking the wrong guy, and false starting. Like, he
might have been the worst blocking receiver in the league last year, like or at least that I've seen so far. Which again, he was so good at that in college. So part of me does think, I mean, educated guess, not a lot of good coaching going on in New England last year, but that's still again does not
was high school. He was a former high school coach. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to dog the guy, but I looked at his resume and I'm like, yeah, this is making a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I mean, even you could argue Drake Maye was a little bit set up to fail last year too, because he was promoted he was promoted like multiple levels. Probably just wasn't really ready for that gig. So I'm hoping for Hampton VA's finest, Drake Maye, like that he eventually finds his way back into the coaching game if that's what he wants to do. But just didn't go well for anybody there last year. But yeah, and then my point on Polk that once they actually got him back into the lineup, they actually started playing him like off the line of scrimmage a ton, but they just, at that point, he was so phased out, it didn't matter, and he barely played. So weird stuff all throughout New England's offense last year. For a guy that they were like, yeah, we would have drafted him over Ladd McConkey anyways, even if we didn't trade down, which, I mean, I wouldn't have said that publicly.
I wouldn't have said that, man.
No.
That's exactly what they need, man.
Just say you had him tiered similarly and that he went before you. That's all he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, they traded out of the pick that eventually became McConkey, and they still said, yeah, don't worry, we would have taken him again. Wouldn't have said that because, yeah, Charles, like Ladd would be exactly what this team needed. Yes. All that being said, like that was what was going on last year, and I think Drake Maye just was awesome in that environment. I'm obsessed with two stats of his because I just wrote a piece on receivers in and out of the quarterback wilderness, and I was looking at some Drake Maye stuff kind of in sort of relation to that. Number one, he was second in scramble yards behind only Jaden Daniels, which is impressive anyways because he didn't start a full season. But the 407 yards he had on scrambles was almost all of his 421 rushing yards. So they did like nothing from a designed rush perspective with him. And that's
7
impressive.
Design runs.
Yeah, 7. and I think they're going to do a ton more of that. Like Drake's already talked about, hey, I was watching some of that Cam Newton offense with Josh McDaniels in 2020. So that's a reason to be optimistic. And among players who threw 200 pass attempts last year, when the middle of the field was open, post snap, according to PFF, he was 5th in passing success rate. Not like no runs, like passing success rate. The guys ahead of him are Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, Tua, of course, and Lamar. Like that's a pretty good company for him to be in while he's throwing to, a bunch of goofball receivers and has poor pass protection, all that. I like the Diggs addition. I think Diggs played well last year. He's obviously an older player coming off an ACL, but if he can even give you kind of like a facsimile of what he was last year, that's good. I love Kyle Williams. I think we're all excited about that pick. So yeah, I think that Drake Maye showed us a lot last year. Like you gotta actually watch it. You don't just look at the stats. I think you have to watch what happened. And he's a really good over the middle passer. He's accurate. He's got a great arm, very talented. So yeah, I'm very confident that if the coaching staff is good, things all kind of coalesce there, and a few of these receivers break out, we could definitely be talking about like the breakout quarterback performance of the season.
I know I'm not all the way sure if it's to the moon this year, but we're launching that way. Like we're halfway there. We're at least out of the stratosphere and circling. We're going around. We're like, oh my God, I just thought of an astronaut and lost it right away. But we're going around. We're John Glenning it. We're, going around the earth over and over. Yeah, there we go. I said 7 design runs, and honestly, it was fewer than that because 4 of those that were counted as runs were like snap fumbles.
Oh,
so
cool.
So that's 3, and I think 2 of the other ones were sneaks. So I think it was 1 design run the entire year. And this is a guy that's an excellent athlete. That's why I really liked him coming out of college. But I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because that's one of the optimisms I have about Josh McDaniels as the OC. And I mean, Patriots coaches are like the king of the Peter principle. God. But like, all right, McDaniels just being an OC and just being in charge of the offense, I like. He always had structured offenses. They had a really good run game. They tied stuff together with what the quarterback likes, whether it was Tom Brady or Mac Jones or Cam Newton. Like no matter what, the offense really fits the quarterback, which I like. I bring up this anecdote all the time that McDaniels, when he was that 1 year with Cam Newton, which is one of my favorite random offenses since I've been in media, he let Cam keep his cadence, which is a very unique cadence. But I always thought that McDaniels, who everyone thinks is some hardo, he is, but that like he's so player unfriendly and all that. It's like, no, he understands what his players are good at, what they're comfortable with, and he goes with that. But that run game that he used with Cam Newton, we'll always have that Patriots Seahawks Sunday or Monday night game from that year where it was magical, where it looked amazing. But like now imagine Maye, not as aggressive as you would with Cam, because Cam can handle so much between the tackles, and Maye is like 225. He's not Cam 250, but he can do those runs. He is a sick athlete. He was second in scramble rate, only behind Jane Daniels last year. And his success rate was 69% on 45 scrambles. Nice. I know. That's excellent. Like
someone had to say it.
You had to. It was easy. I try to round it up too. It was like 69 on the dot too. So, but his, anything above 60% is great. So like the fact that you're near 70, that was fifth among all qualifying scramblers last year. It's what you want. And on top of the throwing stuff, I'm glad you brought up the dropback success rate stuff, or the success rate stuff, Matt. He finished 16th in just dropback success rate, so including scrambles and sacks and everything, which at 46.5%. That's seventh among all rookie quarterbacks since 2012. So it's Dak, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, good start here. Jane Daniels, also good start. Mac Jones, RG3, and then Drake Maye. And then he's above Stroud, who everyone thought had one of the best rookie quarterback seasons in our lifetimes. Tannehill, surprisingly, actually. And then Justin Herbert, who also had a rookie season that we consider one of the best amongst our lifetimes. And so, like, that's great that his efficiency is already at that high level in this bad circumstances. And the fact that I thought even early on he'd be a little boom busty as a quarterback until he figured it out. He shows so much more already. Of course, I was optimistic about him as a rookie going in. He was my number one guy in last year's class, but I'm up there at my optimism with this because I think it'll be really cool with the quarterback situation. Or I'm sorry, the offensive player caller situation, a better offensive line. And, it can't get worse. Even if I think it's going to be like the 20th best offensive line, it's better than 32nd or 30th. I also just, I just think this makeup around him is going to be so much better that he's going to excel. I think I'm really excited to see what he does this year because he's a star. Like he is. Honestly, I think all these three guys that we talked to, Caleb has that shot too. Like these guys to me are all star quality players. And I am always more of an optimist, but I really, really think it's with these guys. I think all three are top 10 guys that we're going to talk about every year. Maybe not this year for Caleb and maybe not all the way there, but in their careers. But yeah, arm, creativity would also, you just mentioned, if you just look at the box score, it's not always great. Watch some of the highlights. Even if you don't watch every down, watch some of the highlights of Drake Maye, and they're up there as some of the best in the league. So I'm very, very excited. I'd put my optimism as an 8 as well, because I'm just giving all these guys 8s. But what about you guys? Charles?
I'll give it I think I'm at a 7. I don't know how to feel about McDaniels. I know how I feel about Doug Marrone. So I'm going to give it a 7. Right. We'll take it week by week. But I think I'm giving him a 7 mostly because I just believe in him as a talent so much. But supporting cast, I'm still we're going to see. We're going to see. Because Josh McDaniels' last stint as a coach for the Raiders did not go well. And Doug Marrone had one of the worst iterations of Alabama's offensive line that I've ever seen in my whole life. And now he's back in the NFL too. So
I'm glad you bring up the Doug Marrone stuff because I also have a lot of hesitancy on that. Like I think his old reputation from 10 years ago when he became Jags coach.
Before Jags.
He has not been a good line coach since he became the Jags head coach. Like that's a decade.
Yeah. He went down to college and it was still bad. Like with Nick Saban overseeing him. So I don't know.
Yeah. With talent too. With guys that became first rounders on the line too. Yeah. Matt, what about you?
I think I'll go 7 too for a lot of the same reasons. Like, I have some of the minor coaching staff questions. I think the receiver room at best could be average. But still, I think going from maybe subpar from the worst in the league is pretty huge. And I think the offensive line being that way is big. So yeah, them being a 7 is really just a testament to how much I feel about Drake Maye.
Yeah, I know it's kind of funny. Scott Peters, who's kind of like an unknown O-line coach, I would feel better. He was the offensive line coach last year. Their offensive line stunk, but I thought their rules were really good. Like they were well taught. They got the most out of that group. Scott Peters, who's now the Bengals offensive line coach, I actually like that hire for them. But that was actually one where I was like, no, keep him. He's fine. Oh, Doug Marrone. Okay, we'll see. So it's kind of the weird way. The guy that was more unknown, I felt better about than the guy that's known.